JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Tuesday, September 30th, 9:15. On this fine morning talk, really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures about down a tenth of percent here on the heels of Monday's. I wouldn't call it a lackluster session. Markets closed in the green, but hit the highs at the open pretty much. I think it was like 10:15, and then a slow melt to the end of the day. Not much in the way of catalyst, right? It's just even this morning. Uh, Futures are pulling back as a government shutdown looms. That's like the big headlines that we're going to see until we get the jobs report here on Friday. So outside of that, yesterday too, another similar to what happened last week, the VIX was just creeping higher. It was up 5% yesterday. Maybe something of note, maybe nothing of note. Last week it did that for like three sessions and it got destroyed on Friday when the market ramped. So probably nothing, but I always keep an eye on that. And then yields, actually ticked down yesterday. So good thing there. Today is the last day of the month, the last day of the third quarter, and then we head into the fourth quarter. And uh, take a look at the performance. The fourth quarter, historically speaking, is the best performing quarter on average, up 75% of the time. So that's a pretty good stat there. And then the percentage gain is about 3%. So considering where the market is already, we'd be close to 20% gain for the S&P for the year if that average just continues. We'll see. We'll see. Obviously, see how things play out. Also, some other historicals. Always like Ryan Dietrich posts some great stuff. Some historicals around if September has all-time highs, and we had all-time highs in 2024. Market closed green for the year in quarter four, but was actually down in October. But 90% of the time, the market has a all-time high in September. The quarter four is green to the average of 4.7% gain. So interesting stuff there. Okay. So that's kind of historical speaking. Let's see. Sorry about that, folks. But outside of jobs report, there's nothing in the way of catalyst this week. After the close today, we have Nike earnings. So, I want to sit there and I'm trying not to get in front of a bus or a train, right? Take a look at the earnings. The stock is down at 69 bucks. It was near 75 2 weeks ago, and I thought that was an opportunity, but I'm looking at the $80 strikes. Tough one on a risk reward basis, so I'll probably stay away from there. But anyway, I put on the watch list 660 to 667. That's kind of like the trading range here on the SPY. If we break under 660, if we get kind of some sell off at the open, or probably if markets don't hold their ground around 11 or 30 or so, I might look for some put hedges. I'll be looking at Broadcom and Oracle. And of course, Nike has a little candle here. All right, so that's kind of overall markets. Quick on some individual names and quick on Duolingo, right? Funny, right after the open. I don't know why I don't have the chart up here, but you can see it on the watch list. Stock opens, it was actually overnight, it was like 331 and 330, and it was dipping in the pre-market down to 324. It opens at 323, and then in a matter of 30 seconds, it drops down to 314, and then bounces from 314 all the way back up to 330. By 10 o'clock, it was 335. My calls were solidly in the green. I think they were close to over 50%, and then it chopped around, back down to 330, and it did nothing. It was down to 328, then back to 330. Premiums were expensive, right? My calls are not close to being in the money, so with time ticking, I didn't want to see the premiums continue to get eroded, so I closed the calls out for a small loss. I'll continue to look for opportunities to play this one for upside. It's frustrating because at some point it's going to be 375, 380, 400 bucks. Trying to time it and be in the calls is expensive, right? Because the premiums are high. It's not like it's an inexpensive lotto trade. To even try and get a position to play for upside, it's pricey. But I think when it does move, obviously those positions will pay off handsomely. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to play Duolingo. I was talking on the Rant yesterday afternoon. I am not a chartist by any means. Whether you want to call this an inverted head and shoulders, a W bottom, to me, it's just a nice setup there. So, all right, so that's Duolingo. Not much to add here on Carlytics, down 6% yesterday, following on Friday's nice move to the upside. I did close out the October 3s, still have some October 4s, went out and rolled into the January, so still have time on my side there, but want to see this have continuation, get over 320. GameStop, solid day yesterday, and you start looking, a great day on Friday, no news or catalyst to get it for, I think it was up 5% on Friday, another 2% yesterday, and there was like an end of day move too. And I don't know if some of it's crypto, right? Bitcoin was up 4%, so this could be somewhat of a under the radar Bitcoin play, which I thought it would be back in the summer, which hasn't panned out just yet. But you start looking at gap fills 28.25. If it gets there, I think it's blue skies. I keep talking about locking the rest of my Octobers in and then rolling into Novembers. Maybe today's the day there on GameStop. SERV Robotics had news this morning. The funny thing, SERV had its tightest trading range in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks yesterday. not much, closed flat as a pancake. And then this morning announced their rollout into Chicago, and also talked about 2,000 robots by the end of 2025. So their plan for scaling out is looks like it's still on track, right? And if that's the case, then it's 60 to 80 million revenue guide for 2026 is also still on track. And you have to think it might be somewhat conservative. So I still boggles my mind. It trades down here. I'm not going to, just add more positions for a breakout. I'm going to wait for some follow through. So 13.75 and $18. Big areas watching on that one. I'm still holding those October and January strikes. Um, and then yesterday, I was looking for some names also to play on the sympathy move for Bitcoin. And you look at some of the obviously Coin, Amara, some of the miners are running. But then also you had PayPal. PayPal was up like 4 or 5%. Then you had some of these other names running. Shopify, Stitch, was it Stitch Fix yesterday? Etsy. Why I'm saying Stitch Fix. On news that they're going to be able to do to be able to buy through ChatGPT. But anyway, I was looking for some other way to play this, and XYZ is always a name that has, to me, always looks like it's undervalued. They have lots of different avenues of their business. Obviously, the crypto side too, which I think is not even baked into the stock's valuation. Consolidated over the last 6 weeks or so, right around the 70.75 handle. And then you look, the 50-day moving average, 76.48. Tight Bollinger Band setup. If there's continuation follow through, I think it gets to $80 soon. So with that being said, I was looking for decent risk reward strikes, went and got those 80s. I'll be quick to pull the trigger today if let's say it doesn't hold 75 here. It's at 75.10 at the open, depending on what those premiums look like, and then I'll continue to revisit. But I always use that or that saying, never wrong, just early. Take a look at the trade desk. I mean, I had the $50 strikes last week, or was it the 50s, to play for a bounce, right? And it's just like a matter of time. Some of its parts valuation similar to what I was saying with Intel and some of these other names that you look at the stock and say, wow, this is severely undervalued. It's just a market is not pricing that in right now because all the negativity and the leadership changes and the things that went on with the trade desk. And boom, finally gets a bounce yesterday over that 50 handle. So frustrating, right? In hindsight, maybe I should have got further out strikes. Maybe probably the same thing with XYZ. But this one similar looks like it's ready to break out. All right, so that's XYZ. And then just other names on the other way, right? And my rants until something plays out, maybe hopefully not too soon, but that the circle jerk, right? The great circle jerk. They call it circular financing. I guess that's the new term that's going to be coined in regards to what's going on with the AI and the CapEx spend and things like that. But take a look at Oracle and Broadcom yesterday. They actually have like similar setups. So you take a look at Oracle, is going to come and do the gap fill, and then you start looking at 270, so maybe 265 down on Oracle. So if the SPY breaks to 660, those will be names I'll be looking at for some hedge puts. I mean, Broadcom's always the name that I look for some hedge positions, but we're kind of in that the news vacuum until we get to Friday. So could be some opportunities for bears to come in and create some, with the government shutdown, create some fear, uncertainty, and doubt. What is it this morning? It's almost like they're going to use the government shutdown as leverage to people getting fired, right? That's what it seems like. They're coming out with headlines this morning, making it sound like, if you're a Democrat, because they don't want to work on getting the government shutdown resolved or at least extend it so they can come to agreement, people are going to lose their jobs, like almost blaming it on that side of the party. It's just the political side. It's very hard not to talk or look at headlines and not have like some political bias or what have you. But to me, what it just means is that there's going to be more headlines, especially over the next day or two, in regards to the government shutdown and implications. And I posted in the watch list yesterday morning. Was it yesterday morning? But just things that have happened with government shutdowns, and they create this whole, it's on the news every morning, especially people who don't trade. They think it's this crazy event that's gonna, last time there was big conversation around it was during the holidays, so everybody's worried about travel, the TSA agents, what's going to happen, and then that gets resolved, and then we move on to the next headwind, right? And then it's funny, no one talks about it again. And similar with this one, right? Well, it'll create this big event of, oh my gosh, it's going to cause this disruption. It's going to cause the possibility of data not being able to come out on time. Is the jobs report on Friday going to come out on time? All the other inflation data, and then boom, it'll get resolved. So hopefully this gets resolved. But it just, funny to read the headlines. It's just, this environment we're in. It's tough to kind of keep your political biases from making you, maybe make some trades that you wouldn't have based on political bias, you might. So it's always important to kind of like sit on your hands, or at least try and do your best to dislocate your your views from your trading, right? I guess is the rationale. All right, so that's it. I'm trying to think of some of the other names here. I keep looking at Pool, and Pool, if you take a look yesterday, nice bounce. I'm like, how is this thing not rallying with the Buffett stake? I mean, we're almost a year and a half into this Buffett stake, and the stock's pretty much flatlined. You have to think at some point this thing starts to take off. Reddit, it's almost like Reddit's been quiet the last couple sessions, sitting there around 240. I think it's just a matter of time, but I'll continue to be patient on that one. All right, let's have a great day. Rock and roll.